So the new generation has come out and it's been a bit of an explosive one, to say the least. I think the reason I haven't been uploading too much Monotype content for the Generation 9 Monotype at the moment is because, generally speaking, I think early generations are not exactly too reflective of what the meta is going to be like. And in this case, I have to unfortunately admit I'm not entirely enjoying Generation 9 Monotype right now. And in this video, I want to explain why and kind of why early generations are a bit crazy. So first of all, as you can see on my screen here, I have been playing a decent bit of Monotype and I absolutely loved it the first couple of days or even the first week. But I think now that the meta, or the current meta in its state, is settling, I don't actually think it's that fun at all. So let me explain why. I have a few tabs open here to kind of explain that. And the main thing being is it's extremely centralized. We can see here for usage stats, there is some crazy Pokemon like Fluttermane at 27.4% usage is extremely high for Monotype. This kind of just goes to show how good Ghost and Fairy are right now. Especially if we scroll down here, I do think there are currently 5 dominant types, being Ghost, Fairy, Fighting, Water, and Dark to some extent. Less so Dark, but it's definitely still good. With Fighting and Fairy being so good, I think Dark's going to see a little bit less usage, but it still has some really crazy powerful tools. And this is kind of reflected here. If we go to Peak Analytics and we scroll down, we can see that pretty much the top, I think I counted 20 Pokemon, fall into these 5 types. Eventually, when we scroll down far enough, we'll see Clodsire here at 8.25% usage. So that's kind of the first non Pokemon of the 5 types I've listed. And because of that, I feel like the meta is currently extremely centralized. I've been playing a good bit of matches and so many of them are against Ghost or Fairy, for example. And now, to be fair, this isn't too reflective, as things like Annihilate and Iron Bundle have been banned already, which is good because those things were kind of crazy powerful. Honestly, I think Fluttermane was better than Annihilate. I think Fluttermane should have gone first, and this is kind of reflected here with 27.4% usage, which is crazy high, especially if we look back to, I'm not sure if it's going to have Generation 8 Monotype. I think it does. I just saw it there and I lost it. Where's it gone? Monotype. So we see here, we had 18% usage on Excadrill, which is kind of surprising. I didn't think Excadrill was that popular, and I don't think it was that big of a threat either, which just goes to show how I think good Fluttermane currently is, with almost 10% more usage on a much better Pokemon. Now, as well as that, thankfully, things like Booster Energy have been banned, but I don't think that necessarily stopped this thing from being crazy powerful, in my opinion. I still think it's extremely fast, it's extremely powerful on the special attack side. Now, it's super frail, don't get me wrong, but this thing is min-maxed like crazy to do so much damage, and on top of that, it has fantastic team support. On Fairy, we have things like Grimmsnarl winning screens, which I think are extremely powerful at the moment. This thing also blocks any Brick Break attempts, which is quite nice. And then on Ghost, it also has some powerful tools, like Mimikyu's not even, in my opinion, that good of a Pokemon, but having 16.6% usage just goes to show how good both Fairy and Ghost are at the moment, that the thing has such high usage. Iron Valiant is crazy powerful as well on Fairy teams. We have some other great things on Ghost. We have Skeledirge. Sorry, it's, I said this thing was dark earlier with Grimmsnarl, I'm going to say it on Fairy. It has Skeledirge with Unaware, so even if for some reason you manage to step in front of Fluttermane, Skeledirge can easily come in and eat that. Dragapult is kind of crazy powerful right now. Houndstone is also banned. I don't necessarily agree with this ban, but that's not here nor there. Goldengo as well is crazy powerful at the moment. Like, it's such a good Pokemon. It can block basically any hazard attempts, and hazards are very good at the moment in the generation, which kind of brings me to my next point, that I feel like the generation at the moment, or the meta at the moment, is much more offensive in nature. Is that a bad thing? No, not necessarily. I think Generation 8 was honestly too defensive. Especially towards the end, it got very boring. Like, you'd see Celesteela versus Celesteela matches last for many turns, and the matches got a little bit slow and a bit boring, so I'm not sad to see a more offensive meta. I just think currently some of the offensive tools are far too good. So despite the fact there's bans, they're still absolutely dominant threats, and then it was the 5 types I mentioned earlier. And because of that, I feel like the low tiers are somewhat unplayable. Now, I wouldn't say Dragon is unplayable, but I do think it struggles a lot in the current meta, which is how omnipresent Fairy is. I've tried things like Grass or Rock, and they're traditionally kind of bad types, but they really just can't hold their own currently in the meta. Same with fun types like Flying, even to some extent Electric, which I was really looking forward to using, especially with the new Quark drive. But it's just, I don't think it really holds up. I've been playing Psychic as well, thinking like, okay, Fighting's pretty popular, maybe Psychic will do well. And unfortunately, due to the absolute massive amount of Ghost and Dark on ladder as well, Psychic was not great. Now, that's going to naturally happen in any monotype meta. That's just how it works. Eventually, things tend to be more powerful, things tend to be centralizing, but at the moment, I think the only 5 types that are truly viable, and actually I suppose Ice is viable too, to some extent, which is kind of surprising, but I just think it's kind of boring at the moment. I'm not enjoying the meta. It's gone stale already, and it's been out for probably just over a month now, and somehow it's already gone stale. I think part of that is due to the Dynamax ban for me. Now, do I think Dynamax should have been banned? Ultimately, yes, I think I do. I did a video of that a few weeks ago if you want to check that out on my channel. I'm not going to reiterate too much here. I think eventually it was going to be banned, absolutely. Do I think it was the most problematic thing to be banned immediately? Honestly, no, I don't. I was really enjoying Dynamax. I think it added a very interesting and unique take to the tier, and I think it being gone, honestly, at the moment has hurt it a little more than it's healed the tier, which is kind of a controversial opinion. I do think early generations should be a bit crazy, should be a bit wacky, like let us try crazy tools, but I think Dynamax went a little bit too early. As I said, I don't think it would have lasted in the long run, but just maybe taken a bit before its time, in my opinion. So, those are some of the reasons why I'm just not a fan of the current meta. I know usually I would use usage stats from Smogon here. Unfortunately, this is Generation 8, and you can see this is pretty normal. We have Mono Water at 10%, we have Mono Ghost at 8%, for example, but for some reason the Generation 9 stats at the moment for Monotype are messed up. Mono Normal is absolutely not at 11.4% usage, and things like Mono Fairy definitely are not at 0.02% usage, because this thing is absolutely crazy prevalent. I would say I played about 10 games before making this video, and I think 8 of those were Ghost or Fairies, so it just got extremely boring for me extremely fast, which is unfortunate because I do love Monotype and I do want to try and play it. So going forward, I might start streaming some Monotypes, just in Generation 9 Monotype, but overall, I think I'm going to wait for Pokemon Home to truly see how this settles, or hopefully some things like Fluttermane get banned. In the meantime, however, as well, I might start playing the Nat decks. I haven't played too much Nat decks, as you can see, but I am definitely enjoying this a lot more. It feels a bit more like an offensive Generation 8, which I really love, because I did enjoy Generation 8, especially Nat deck. I just thought it got a bit defensive and slow towards the end, so to add the kind of offensive oomph that Generation 9 brought to a Generation 8 plus meta is very fun for me. So definitely expect some Natdex content coming forward, and if you want to see any types of specific, let me know down in the comments down below what you want to see first. I'm currently working on a few, and I probably will be streaming those over the holidays, as I am off for the next 2 weeks, so hopefully there will be a lot more content, a lot more streams to look forward to. And if that does interest you, definitely feel free to subscribe. It is free, and it does help me out so much as a small channel. I really do appreciate it. And with that, I'll catch you soon, everyone. Take care.